All right. What is going on, y'all? This is Thoughts of a Predicate Winner. You know what it is. You know what we do over here. A lot of you guys have been around long enough to see my A Conversation With series that I did with Simple Man. This will be the second episode of A Conversation With. I'm here with my boy, my dog, Chatter and Chokeslams. And we're going to get into his story a little bit. We're going to get into his life. We're going to just have a dope conversation between homies, man, which is what this is all about. So without further ado, man, if y'all are ready to get into it, let's do it. But before we do, please make sure to smash that like button and that subscribe button for me and help propel me into them algorithms. And make sure that you tag him and go and hit that subscribe button for my boy as well. All right?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, what's good, homie? How are you?
Good, man. Good. It's heating up outside, ain't it?
It is.
It's
you have safe
hot.
travels here, man. I feel like the traffic outside is absolutely
The
horrendous.
traffic is horrible, as always.
Yeah.
There's construction everywhere you go.
100%.
You can go this way, that way, up, down. There's construction
all
don't matter.
around, bro.
Yeah.
It's crazy because 16, man, I feel like they've been building on 16. I mean, I don't want to bore them too much about 16, but
Yeah.
they've been building on I-16 for like 10 years at this point, and I
it's
still
been
feel like
forever.
they've done nothing. They've
Yeah.
literally done nothing.
Yep. It's been forever, and now they've got construction on 204.
Yeah.
It's literally 21.
Yeah.
Like I said, it doesn't matter where you go. You're about to sit in
doesn't.
traffic, dog.
So, are you still nicotine free?
Yes,
Good.
absolutely, man.
Good.
I don't really know what day I am anymore. I felt like it was hindering
happens.
me to know
Yeah.
how many days, like, oh, I'm 7 days, oh, I'm 14 days.
Yeah.
I just
No.
know I'm not.
It's better to do it. That I've always thought like it was such a crazy thing in AA whenever they do like which you do deserve. Like if you get 30 days clean, you deserve a reward for that. But it's
Sure.
also kind of strange because you're practicing and preaching one day at a time, and
Yep.
you're putting a number on it, which makes you kind of think like, ooh, I gotta hit that 30 day instead of focusing on let me get through today.
Yep.
And getting through today is what gets you to tomorrow.
That's
and then you
right.
just do it again.
And
you
that's
know?
really what I was doing in the beginning. Is like, I was like, okay, this is my first day. You know, this is my second day. But I ended up thinking about smoking more when I was doing
Yeah,
that.
100%.
And I was like, I don't want to think about smoking. So you know what? I don't care what day it is I'm on. I just know I'm not smoking. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I
At the
do.
end of the day, that I feel like that's what matters.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you make it through the day, I salute you. I
Yeah.
salute anybody out there that makes it through a day of no smoking, sobriety. You're sober
Absolutely.
too, right?
Yes, absolutely.
100%
man.
completely.
For the first time in like a decade.
Yeah.
It's literally been like a decade for me. It's nothing crazy. Like I wasn't doing no hard stuff. It was just marijuana.
Yeah.
But for me, see, I am an addict.
Yeah.
Back in my early 20s, I had a big addiction to pills. And I had to go to rehab and the whole 9 yards. And I've never touched a pill since I was like 21.
Yeah.
I still to this day, I hate to take a pill, dog.
Yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
to take a pill.
Good.
And but ever since then, it's been marijuana. And because of my addiction and my addictive personality, like I said, I'm an addict. So it's not like I have control over it to the point where like I can't just go smoke a joint, put it away, and not smoke it again for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
No, I'll lose control, and the next thing you know, I'm smoking all day, every day for the next decade.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
And so yeah, man, I'm off of it though. I'm off of it, and it feels great.
That is awesome,
It
man.
feels great. It's crazy to look back to different times where you think it's impossible when you're in it.
100%.
You're just like, man, I can never stop.
Yeah.
I can never, you fully depend on it.
Yeah.
Just to get through
To eat.
simple
to
things.
wake up in the morning. To
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man,
So
shout out to you, bro. That's fire
been,
for real.
It's been great, man.
Especially after going through such a painful process, because I know that no matter what your addiction looks like, and we're going to get into the more specifics of all of that as we get further into the conversation, but it's difficult, man, to go through a painful process, which we'll get to that here in a
Yeah.
second as well, but to
Yeah.
go through that painful process when your mind is screaming at you, you need weed, you need pills,
Yeah.
you need this, you don't have to suffer through this pain.
That's right.
And I tell everybody all the time, the number one way to get motivated and disciplined is just by doing at least one thing a day that you don't want to do or don't like to do.
Yeah.
And people really have a hard time with that. But it's as simple as like make your bed up in the morning. You don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Yep.
But I do it, and it puts a reminder in my brain that I can do the difficult thing.
That's right.
So, let's start with the early days, man. Like, what, as far as you can remember, man, what was your life like?
Oh man, like childhood was, I really can't complain as far as like elementary school days and stuff like that. I mean, I was blessed.
Yeah.
Blessed
and highly favored.
Yeah, man. I can't complain too much, man. When I hit middle school, it's kind of when, my parents split up, kind of went their separate ways. And
Sixth grade, seventh grade?
No, it was more like
Eighth?
fifth.
Fifth.
So like going into middle
sixth.
school.
Got it.
So it was like the end of elementary, the beginning of middle.
That's important. So you're going through that funky, weird stage at 10 years old that nobody wants to admit is a funky and weird stage where you're trying to figure out, like,
And you can understand a lot more at that age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can.
You start to comprehend stuff a lot better than you did in your young elementary school days,
Yeah.
And so, they split. They went their separate ways. I visited my dad on the weekends. Like, I'm sure a lot of folks had to go through similar situations like that. So yeah, that was pretty much, the childhood. I don't think many people have different childhoods and that. I'm sure it's normal.
Not to cut you off, but did you find yourself in a situation of like wanting to go to your dad's more so than being home?
Absolutely. Because I was a rebellious kid.
Yeah, and you knew what Yeah.
I was always, I don't want to say always. I wasn't always a rebellious kid. It really started when I was a teenager. Mm-hmm. Teenagers, as soon as I was a teenager, it was like rebel.
For sure.
Against any and all authority.
The whole system.
It doesn't matter if it's school, home, whatever. I'm rebelling against authority at that teenager age.
Because you knew everything.
Yep,
obviously.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so my dad was a lot less strict.
Yeah.
He was an alcoholic. He smoked. Mm-hmm. So it was like I knew that if I spent the more time I spent with him, the more time that I could do whatever I wanted. Even if it was bad for me, for my own self.
Right.
You know what I'm
saying? Which we don't care about at that age.
Not at that
obviously.
age. We don't care.
It's more cool to like have a story and to do the wrong thing than it is to just live right.
That's right. And so that's kind of how it was. I always was trying to be over there with him, and I don't think he really picked up on it until later. Way later. Mm-hmm. Because he was oblivious to a lot too. But yeah, like I said, I would go back and forth between him and there. There were some. He was an alcoholic, like I said. So there were some weekends where he just wouldn't show up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
You end up sitting out there on the front porch steps, just
with
kind
your
of
bag,
waiting. Like, okay, where are you? 20 minutes go by, 30 minutes go by. You're looking at your mom like.
Heavy relatability, man.
Yeah.
And then, was your stepdad prevalent yet in that picture?
Not quite yet. I think they were dating.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it wasn't so prevalent to the point where I think he felt like he could be a mentor of some sort yet,
I really struggled with that aspect of it too. Like I shared that relatability with you where my dad would leave me sitting on the porch with my bags and he'd tell me 2 days ahead of time, like, I'll come and get you on Friday, and I hung on to that. That's your word. That's your promise to me. You're supposed to be teaching me as your son that your word is your bond. And just the simplicities of like the parents, and I can't even imagine it at 35 when my dad was that age, he would just be able to say like, oh, I'm coming to pick you up. And then just with there was no like message, no call, no nothing. He just wouldn't,
nothing.
And I never understood that. I still don't understand it.
No.
And I have come to a place where I've always loved my dad, even through trials like that. But my stepdad would come into the picture like, he ain't coming. And it just made me angry.
It made it worse.
I got so much anger pent up in me from those days all the way up until probably 10 years ago, where I was finally able to start letting some of that anger go.
It takes time.
It does.
It takes time, man. It really does.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man.
Your mom and you waiting on your dad to pick you up.
Yeah, stuff like that, And then, I just got older, got able to drive, get your first car. And that's when the rebellion was even worse, you know, because I was able to go wherever I wanted
and do whatever
I wanted
with whoever you wanted to do it with.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you were just, you know, there was nothing stopping me.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I would go over to my dad's all the time, and even being underage, he would drink with me. You know, he would give me drinks. He would give me pills.
Let me stop you there,
you know,
because that's important. When your dad, and this is the reason why I feel like this is a good conversation to have between us, because we both have a similar story with our fathers. But it's important to state right here that if you're a father out there and you leave your child on the porch waiting for you to come and pick you up, and you don't give an explanation, you don't give a call, you don't do anything, you just say, oh, well, he'll forget about it, maybe he won't, I got something going on, I can't make it. If you can't even bother to call and tell me that, then what you're setting precedence wise is a desire and a need deep within. I just want to see you, I want to be around you, I want you to respect me, I want you to love me. How do I make that work if you're not showing me, right? So that you end up in situations like this a lot of times where, all right, I'm going over here to drink, I'm going over here to smoke, I'm going over here to do whatever I want to do because I know my dad will let me do it, and I don't care if I'm ruining my life. I don't care about those ultimate choices, because in this moment, I'm just able to be with my dad, and he seems to respect me in this situation.
That part.
And you're blessed. I'm blessed. It ruins lives.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're a father, all I want to do is just tell you guys, man, like, no matter what the past looks like, no matter what you look like, stand up for yourself, man, and stand up for your kid and do the right thing.
Just be there. You don't
Yeah.
have to have all the money in the world. You don't have to have the fanciest things in the world. Just be present. Be there. Show them that you care.
I 100%
That's
agree.
it, man. It's, you know, but that's how it was, man. That, like you said, that was my opportunity to be close to him and to be around him.
Yeah.
You know, and he was drunk, so he would let me drink, and he didn't really care.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And my addiction has nothing to do with that, with my relationship with my dad, but I will tell you that I think that there was some kind of psychological twist, because my dad went to prison twice during some pivotal years in my life, and I think that maybe, you know what I mean, that had something to do with my law-breaking days, like beyond the addiction. Like and I can't blame it on him. Like, I would never do that. I made my ultimate own decisions, but I do wonder sometimes, as a father,
the door.
Would I have made that decision if I hadn't seen my dad in that situation? Like, if it was more of a mystery to me on what's on the other side of that door, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep, I can agree with that. I don't think necessarily blame, like you said, but it opened the door for you to peek inside the wrong door and go down the wrong path.
Right, I can agree.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, just be present there for your kid, and don't open that door, man.
Yeah.
For 'em.
Even if you are a smoker or a drinker or something like that, I feel like you could still, be prevalent in your kid's life, and just be like I tell my kids, like, don't do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that simplistic, man.
And it's all about realizing too what we talked about in the beginning. If you're an addict, and knowing, okay, if you're an addict, then you don't need to drink. You don't need to smoke, because you're an addict. And if you're going to drink and smoke, guess who's going to see it? Your kids.
Yep.
Because you're an addict and you have no control.
Yep. Especially if you are in that situation where you're split apart from the mother.
Yep.
Then in those situations, you have to look even tougher, because they're going to want to cling to you more, because you're not. So what you do, like, I have daughters, and as Cadence has gotten older, she has really gotten closer to her mom. When she was younger, she was like a daddy's girl, but I was there. So it's she doesn't have that sense of, like, thank God, but she doesn't have that sense of, like, I want to be with my dad. I just want him to respect me. I want him to love me. I tell her I do it every day, and she sees it.
Yep.
Anyway, back to what you were saying.
Yeah. So I mean, life moved on. I think I spent a lot of my teenage years, especially, like I said, after I got a car and was able to drive. So like 16, 17, 18, 19, was just full of, like, partying, Yeah. I think I had spots here and there that I would try to do the right thing and get on the right path, but it just would never last. You
Yeah,
know,
I
because
do.
I wasn't fully invested.
100%
I wasn't
get
fully
it.
invested into it. I just, you know, you're just kind of going along with the motions.
Yeah.
And if you're just going along with the motions, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. You have to be invested. And so, like I said, it was just kind of like party years, man. A lot of drinking, a lot of smoking, a lot of pills.
When did you finally find something to invest in?
So it was probably when I went to rehab.
Okay.
For the pills. I had a job. I was living with a girl at the time, just a girlfriend type thing.
Yeah.
And
Did you feel any investment in that relationship?
No, I
not
never
even
did.
in the beginning.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's just
Fair.
something.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. It was something to do.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And,
fair enough.
But we lived together, you know, and I was working at a hotel, and so I would have to be at this hotel early, man, like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So I'd have to leave my house at like 3:30.
Okay.
Yeah, just to get
Super
there.
early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was bad off on these pills, man. These what you call them, Klonopin? Klonopin? I don't know how to say that.
Yeah. You said it right.
But I was hooked. I was really bad off on these things, and it got to the point. Well, the reason I got hooked on those is because as I got older and I saw my dad drinking, he became like a blackout drunk.
Okay.
And when he blacked out drunk, he was mad, dog.
So alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Angry person all day. And so that made me kind of like resent him. And it made me resent alcohol because of how it made him. So I didn't really want to drink anymore.
Yeah.
It made me not want to
I
drink.
imagine you didn't want to be around nobody that drunk either.
No,
Yeah.
but all my friends drank.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, I can't do that. So I found the Klonopins, and they made me feel drunk.
Yeah.
My speech
Without
would be
having to
slurred.
drink.
My
Yeah.
balance was off. It
Yeah.
literally made me feel like I was drunk without the drinking.
Right.
You know, and so I was just messed up all the time.
Yeah.
Just all the time, and having weed on top of the pills. Sometimes drinking on top of the pills, not as
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And then one day I was at work, man, and I could just feel like, I don't know how to describe it, man, but it felt like my heart was just gonna stop. You know, you can put your hand over your heart
You can feel
and
it.
focus. You can feel it
Yeah.
beating.
Yeah.
And it just felt like it was slow. And I was like, dude, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, I like to feel good, but I don't want to die.
Yeah.
And so I just broke down, man, and I called my mom in this little maintenance office I had by myself. I called my mom. I said, I got to go to rehab right now. Right
this second.
Right now. I have to go now. So this was like, I was like 21, somewhere around there, 21, 22,
Yeah.
somewhere around in that age. And she just dropped what she was doing. It was like 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And she came and got me. We left my car there. She came and got me. She took me to her house.
Yeah.
She made a couple phone calls.
Let's
Next thing
figure out
I
what's
know,
going
I
on.
was in rehab.
Yeah. Well,
You
good.
know?
Shout out to your mom. Shout
And,
out to your mom.
absolutely, because she saved my life.
That's way to be around.
You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for her,
Yeah.
I mean, I might not be here.
Yeah. No, you
That's
wouldn't.
on some real stuff.
You wouldn't be. I had times like that too, where I just had, nights like that where, I might call whoever, might call this person, that person, and I didn't even believe in God yet, but I remember specifically praying sometimes like, God, if you just help me live through the night, I'll get off of this. And then I would wake up the next morning and I was right back to it. So
All
it's
over
important,
again.
man.
It's a
important.
vicious cycle, man.
Yeah.
It can be a really vicious cycle that's just insanely hard to get out of.
Yeah.
The longer you stay in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just digging your hole deeper.
Yeah.
You know.
that's actually a really good point. You're not standing still. The
No.
world's moving, dog. You're
No.
either going the wrong way or the right way.
And you're still, there's that cliche saying where like you have to hit rock bottom. And so I think people get this false sense of like, oh, well, I can just do wrong and then I'll hit this place where I'll do right again.
Yeah, no,
And
that's not how
that
it works,
man.
Yeah.
Like, it's a vicious cycle and you're just going to keep digging yourself worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And
Right.
I mean, it's hard.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we can relate. But yeah, so back to investing. I invested in that rehab.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I don't want to die. These pills are going to kill me.
Yeah.
Especially
Those are very difficult pills to get off of, man.
yeah.
Klonopin and Xanax.
Oh man, I was so
yeah.
sick in that rehab, dude. So sick.
Yeah.
Oh boy, worst times ever.
Yeah.
Just shaking, panic
Yeah.
attacks, sweating.
Think about what your body got used to.
Oh yeah.
For how long?
The pills was a good 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that
Somewhere
sounds
around
right.
there.
Because, and I mean, not saying anything at all, but there was this like black hole in our friendship where there was like we just weren't present in each other's lives for whatever reason, and you had to go through what you had to go through. I had to go through what I had to go through, and it's always been ironic to me that we kind of went through that at the same time.
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
But anyway, man.
But I did.
Yeah,
man.
continue.
I invested into that rehab, and I didn't. I'll be honest. I didn't. They wanted me to stay a full 30 days.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I stayed 17, somewhere around there. I can't really remember. It's been a long time. But I didn't complete the whole thing. But I never did another pill again.
Yeah. When you know, you know.
I knew, and I had some personal stuff going on outside of rehab, because people can write you letters.
Right.
You don't have a phone or anything. They won't let you have a phone. But people can write you letters, and I was getting some letters that was making me feel like I needed to handle life.
Yeah.
Stuff, and I couldn't handle it there.
Where you were.
In the inpatient rehab. So I was like, all right, I'm out. And like I said, I never did another pill after that, man.
Yeah.
I never did. Obviously, of course, like we talked about, I still smoked and stuff like that, and I leaned on stuff that I probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But as far as pills go, no, I never did. I never did another pill.
Yeah.
And it's just not something I could see myself doing ever again, man.
Yeah, no, I
Once
get it.
it scares you like that.
Yeah. And a lot of people do the California sober thing, man. To be honest, I don't know. My stance on weed. My stance on weed has always, or not always been. I used to smoke hella weed, but my stance on weed now is that it is a crutch for your weakness. No matter what you want to say, no matter how you want to put it, that's my belief. I believe that it can be used medicinally in good purposes. I don't believe that it should be illegal, but I do ultimately believe that if you're an addict, it's going to ultimately lead you into a place. It's the same hamster wheel, it's just slower.
Yes.
Or the same hole that you were talking about, it's just slower.
Because if you're an addict and you're smoking weed all the time, every day, every morning, every night, it can make you lazy.
Yeah.
It can make you irresponsible.
Yeah.
It can cause divorce.
Yeah.
It can cause a lot of stuff just because all you're worried about is smoking weed.
Yeah.
Because you're an addict.
Yeah. And nothing is good enough without it. Yeah. That's what it turns into. That's what it turned into for me as an addict and that's part of why I turned to other drugs. Like I got put on probation at 16, and that's when I started exploring with other drugs because I couldn't use THC anymore. They were pissing me every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, and I'm at 16 years old. I wasn't even trying to find like the fake version or whatever. So I'm diving in. I'm like, what's that? Does this make me feel good? Does this make music as good? And then what it does is ultimately real life just isn't enough anymore. No. And I'm super proud of you for getting out of that, bro. I am. That's very hard.
It also gives you a false sense. Meaning like, I remember smoking weed and feeling like, oh, I do this better.
Yeah.
I do this better when I die. It's fake. It's not true though.
No, it's not.
It's totally not true, man. It's just
That's what happens to people on Adderall too, bro. They think like, oh, well, I don't do drugs, but I take this because it helps me concentrate. Nah, dog. And whatever you do on the substance, like I had this talk with another friend of mine.
Yeah.
Where he was like, he's starting to take Adderall, and I was like, be careful with that stuff. Just kind of I wasn't trying to be preachy, just be careful with that stuff. Yeah. And he calls me about 2 weeks later, man, and he's just been taking it every day. And he's like, bro, I just cleaned the whole shop, and I sold $3,000 worth of stuff, and blah, blah, blah. And I remember just being as blunt as I could be. I was like, well, did you do that, or did the drug do it for you?
That part. Yep.
And that's when you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, is this me?
Yeah.
Or,
who
am I?
It as a crutch.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. But yeah, man, like I said, after I got out of that rehab, I didn't do no more pills. I was done with that. God, where can I go?
Are you a father yet at this point?
No.
No, not quite.
No, not a father. That didn't come till later.
Okay.
Probably, I think 25, 26.
Okay. So how did the fatherhood end up ultimately changing your direction and changing who you are?
So the fatherhood, it's crazy, and I just got through talking to my mom about this. I have had serious bad luck in relationships, not friendships. I mean, like with girls.
Yeah.
It just, I've just not had the best luck. I'm not even gonna sit here and throw shade on anybody that I've ever dated because, I have my own faults. I'm not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've just never had the best luck. And I remember being younger. I'm talking like 18, 19, 20.
Right.
And I remember praying to God because I was so done with relationships. Like, hey, man, just give me a son. Just give me a son. And that's it. That's all I need. And I'll be fine. And I'll raise my son to be better than I ever was. And, da-da-da-da. And if you fast forward to where I'm at right now, no, he didn't answer my prayer back then. Thank God.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready.
Yeah. But he knew when you would be.
And he gave it to me.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, especially looking at the full circle moment, which, I mean, we don't want to jump ahead. Definitely want to get into the specifics of that whole drama, which ultimately led into who you are today.
Oh, it definitely did.
Yeah, but God knows, man, and that's the most amazing part of it all. It's miraculous, and I preach that a lot to people where they're,
Yep.
Man, I prayed for that. I'm like, well,
that's right.
Be patient, dog. I mean, God's time isn't our time. I mean, 6 years to God is 600 years to God is the snap of a finger,
it's
bro.
No time. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And but yeah, man, I ended up meeting my son's mom, and we were working at Domino's, old Domino's Pizza, and we just kind of clicked, But I tell you, people ignore red flags way too often, and that's why relationships don't last, because you're not supposed to be with that person.
Mm-hmm. I did tell you.
You know what I'm saying?
I did tell you about that girl.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, I was like,
and even,
but you do. You ignore them on purpose.
You ignore these red flags.
Yeah.
And
I didn't want to upset you either, because I felt like you were genuinely happy during that time frame. Like I felt like, and I remember having conversations with other mutual friends where I'd be like, man, I don't want to go too hard on him. Like all I told you was, hey, be careful, because if she did that to him, she'll do it to you.
If it starts, I could say one thing to people that are getting into new relationships, if you start out bad, it's going to end bad. Meaning, if you get into this relationship with this person and one of you was cheating, you know what I'm saying? And then y'all get together from that, that's not going to work.
No, I agree.
I think I've only seen it work one time in my entire life, and this couple is still together to this day. They've been together like 25 years.
So it's safe to say 1%.
Yeah, like 1%. It's not gonna work. If it starts bad, it'll end bad.
Yeah, well,
and
I agree.
I promise you, it just will.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree.
But like I said, you ignore these red flags, and you just kind of keep pushing through, even though hey, maybe this ain't it.
Yeah.
But I did. I pushed through, and maybe she did too. For all I know, maybe she saw red flags with me that she kept going.
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not perfect. I'll never sit here and say I'm the perfect person and I didn't have flaws.
You can become obsessed with the ideology of somebody.
Absolutely.
People do it all the time.
Absolutely. But we pushed through, and then next thing you know, she was pregnant. And we're having a baby, and so it's like, real life is about to happen right now, know?
Yeah.
And I was already playing stepdad.
Yeah.
I mean?
Good point.
I was already playing stepdad for like over a year and a half.
Yeah.
Something like that. Before mine came into the picture. But I tell you, man, when my son was born, man, I know it's cliche to say, but it's undescribable when it's your kid.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Came from your DNA.
And you're holding this tiny little thing in your hands, and you're just like, whoo.
Yeah.
It just washes over you, man.
Yeah, it does.
You know?
It does. It's beautiful, and it's so scary. I don't remember ever being right hand to God, man. I don't know if I've ever been terrified of anything. More than having a kid.
I was scared to even hold him as a baby. I remember them handing him to me, and I was shaking. My hands were like this.
Right.
I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
What a process, too. Like going through the birth. And
oh, man.
I mean, not that we know that process, but seeing that process unfold is like, oh, my God.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, I mean, from there, it's off to the races once you have it. I mean, there's no pause button. There's no rewind button. You're just
press
off
play
to the races, and you're just kind of going with the flow.
Yeah.
I always find it funny. And hey, I'm not throwing shade on anybody for like trying to wait for the right moment to have a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm telling you right now, there is no preparation. There's no amount of preparation in the world that you can do to be ready for a kid.
I 1,000,000% concur. I agree.
There's nothing you can
Totally
do.
and utterly.
You're just going to be rolling with the punches as you
You're
go.
going to get ready when it gets here.
That's right.
And even if you think you're ready and you feel comfortably ready, you're not ready.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But you move on. You like you said, you just figure out each step to take, and you wing it, man.
That's
you wing
it.
and
That's
you
it.
you hope for the best, dude.
Yeah. That's all you can do, man. And so life went on for a few years. I think we moved up to Port Wentworth. We moved in with her mom, which was a mistake. I don't advocate for that for people either. I mean, I understand if people have to. There's certain situations, medical situations. Maybe you're taking care of somebody, that's different.
Yeah.
But our situation, I knew that this was a bad idea.
Yeah.
As soon as I heard it, I was like, no, this is not a bad idea. And of course, I ignored it.
Yeah.
And I did it anyway. And it was just not a good idea, man. And long story short,
She started getting in her ear. Are y'all married at this point?
Oh yeah, we are married.
Okay.
We got, as soon as we found out that she was pregnant, we got married.
Yeah.
Because I learned through her first guy that if you have a baby and you're not married, the guy just automatically don't have any rights.
Yeah.
None.
No.
Zero.
Well,
so
that's crazy.
Unless you're married.
That's crazy.
If you're married and you have a baby,
you have rights.
then you have rights.
Well, I would say in most cases you ended up in a real cruddy type of situation, but I am glad that you got married to her, honestly, because I do
gave me
think
those
that
rights.
it could have been worse. Yeah, and
that's really
exactly.
people, I can look back at it now and say, I probably got married for the wrong reason. I did not get married because we were in love.
Yeah.
I think I got married because I wanted to make sure that I had rights to my kid if something ever happened.
I understand.
I
understand.
I wasn't going to be that guy that
I'm glad you found that out because of where we are today.
Yeah, yep, that's right. That's right. Yeah. And but eventually it did happen. I'm not going to get into all the gory details, but we split up. We divorced. That was a long process. It's not fun.
Was it nasty?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very rarely are they not.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you,
was it mutual? Like, did she want to leave and you wanted to leave?
Yeah, and I think we both went through different times too, where it was like, oh, never mind.
Right.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it was kind of like boom, 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 but finally there was a point where we were both like, nope.
It's done.
And the difference too with us is she, when we were together, she remained close with her ex because they had a kid. But with us, when we were done, we were done. There was no hanging out. There was no being friends.
I dig.
There was
get
nothing.
Yeah.
There was, hey, I'm coming to get my kid this time.
Which, I don't want to overstep here, but it does insinuate that you felt majorly disrespected.
Oh, yeah.
That's what that insinuates. Like that kind of like, all right, it's done. It's over. I'm done. It's a wrap. I don't even want to see your face.
No.
That insinuates that you are majorly disrespected. So that's okay if we want to leave it there. I just want to,
absolutely.
I just kind of wanted to add those two pennies in. So.
And that's totally fair to say that.
Yeah.
That definitely.
Yeah.
And so after that, though, you just kind of try to rebuild your life the best you can.
Yeah.
And so I did. Man, I went and got me a little house in Pooler.
Yeah.
It was a small house now. Don't get me wrong. It was a 2-bedroom house. The living room and kitchen was kind of one big room.
Yep.
Yeah. One bathroom in my bedroom.
Yeah.
But it was small, man. But I was happy because it was mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was mine. Nobody could ever tell me to leave.
Yep. And was your son? How often were you able to see your son at this point?
During that time, I was getting him every weekend.
Okay.
So I fought.
Beautiful.
I had to fight tooth and nail.
Yeah.
Just for the courts to let me see him every weekend.
That's insane.
Because they wanted me to only see him every other weekend.
Yeah.
And I put my foot down and I was like, no.
Yeah.
That's terrible. What?
Yeah. Why?
Absolutely not.
That's when you start after asking yourself why the courts are set up the way the courts are set up, which can lead into a whole different conversation.
Man.
But
and I'm sure that will probably come back up.
Yeah.
But so anyway, man, I got him every single weekend. I was working 2 jobs during the week. I was doing landscape during the week, during the day, and I was doing a food delivery service, kind of like DoorDash. It wasn't DoorDash, it was something else, but I was doing a food delivery service at night. So I would literally go work 10 hours outside all day long doing landscape, come home for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then do my food delivery service.
Yeah.
You know, for 3 or 4 hours.
Working.
Dude, working.
Yeah, get into it.
And
that's what a man does.
And then, you know, life is life, man, and it throws you stuff sometimes that just isn't fun.
Now, let me ask you, during this point in time, do you feel like this might be the beginning of your transition into just kind of being super introverted? Like, I don't want to hang out. I don't want to, because of the work and with the heartache and the fighting for your son. Like, I don't know if you would have found time to hang out anyway with anybody, but that can be. I'm just asking, is that like the beginning stages of being introverted?
Definitely. It did. I think I've always been introverted, you know, type person. I've never been this outgoing person, you know. I was never wanting to be the center of attention. Right. But after that, it did compound it. Right. You know, where it
made it worse. Like, and now I don't even want to be around friends. Now I don't want to be.
And so it was working home, and I was still smoking weed during this whole time. And but one night, man, it was like it was a weekend because my son was there. And we had just happened, dude. God, he was looking out for me, man, because this is the second time in my life that I could have been taken out of here. Real quick. Me and my son fell asleep on the couch watching a movie one night, and the next thing I know, we're asleep. We lay down, you know, together. He was super little. Next thing I know, I kind of feel on my face, and I'm like, huh? I open my eyes. Pitch black. I was like, hello? Smoke is everywhere. I'm talking about the black smoke is all the way to the floor. Jesus. From the ceiling to the floor, I couldn't see a thing. And so I literally, you know, he was kind of stirring awake. I think that's why he was hitting me, you know. So I picked him up and I ran out and I put him on the front porch outside. I ran back in. I'm panicking. I don't know what to do. You know, I go inside and I'm trying to look around to see what's on fire. And it was in his room, man. I had this four-wheeler. I'm going to try not to get emotional. Go ahead. It's rough. We had this little four-wheeler, you know, those electrical vehicles kids love. And I had it charging in his room. And that's what started the fire, some kind of electrical issue. And so I see the smoke boiling out from under the door, and I'm trying to kick the door to see how bad the fire is. I'm trying to salvage my house, you know? Right. But I can't get the door to budge for nothing, except for a little piece under the bottom. And when I do, the fire just kind of shoots out of that spot. So it was getting hot. I couldn't breathe. I was choking. So I just got out of the house. And, you know, God really looked out for me in multiple ways. You know, because he woke me up. He woke my son up to hit me in the face. You know, to get us out of there. But he also saved us because we were in the living room together. He didn't go to his bed. He didn't go to his bed because if he did, he wouldn't have made it. And that's emotional. And that's what part of why I wanted you. I'm glad you talked about that as somebody that already knew that story, obviously. But I'm glad you talked about it, man, because too many times I feel like in today's world, in this microwave society that we live in, man, I mean, by too many times, I mean almost every time. People will have a miracle. God, I want you to prove yourself to me. God will do it, and then people will chalk it up to coincidence, or it's just this, or it's just that, or it's not really a big deal because their attention span is like this. But I think that it's important that you hold on to stuff like that. Like, God saved you in that situation. And it's still, like I said, quite literally. Day makes me emotional. You know? But there were so many little blessings he gave me too, because like I said, we fell asleep on the couch. So we were able to make it out. But also, we weren't in our pajamas. Like, I still had my work clothes on. So I still had my wallet in my pants. I still had my phone in my pants. I still had a lot of stuff on me. So when I was able to leave the house, I was able to call people. I was able to, you know, have money in my wallet. You know, I may have lost everything in the house. But there was some good, you know, that I could 100%. Look at and come out of it. But that was still a major blow, man, to me mentally.
Of course. And that's traumatizing.
Making somebody more introverted. because what happened is that a lot of people did. I don't want to dismiss this because a lot of people did help me.
Yeah.
And I want to thank. I don't know if anybody would even remember because it's been a while. But if you did give me any type of funding or help from that situation, I thank you because it really did help. You know what I'm saying? But there was no news articles about it.
No.
Nobody from the news came out. It wasn't on nowhere. It was
Right.
like it didn't happen.
Right.
You know?
And that can make you feel.
But 2 weeks later,
Yeah.
I saw a news story about a girl up in Effingham and her trailer burnt down and she was all over the news. And
Yeah.
she ended up making like 5 times
Yeah.
more
Because she had publicity.
because she had the publicity. So it took me forever to get back on my feet.
Yeah.
Like forever. And so that made me even more introverted
Right.
because I felt like, yes, people cared, but not to that extent.
No.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I do.
So it just made me go even further into a
Into
cave.
your hermit. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so that it really put me in a bad spiraling spot, you
Yeah.
know. And I can take some of that blame as well.
Yeah.
Because I could have handled things better.
Yeah.
I could have handled
it's
certain
also,
situations a lot better than I did.
sometimes stuff like that really is necessary, and I can talk to you about it because you're on the other side of it, but it's
Yeah.
difficult to talk about people that are going through things like this because they can't see the other side of it. But
Yeah.
a lot of times God will put you through journeys like this. He might even show himself to you, give you a blessing or two in the midst of it, but at the end of the day, you still got to go through hell to get to a place where you can call heaven on earth, or a place of peace, or just whatever, you know what I mean? Or just in a place where you can smile, you know?
Absolutely.
And it's difficult to appreciate things that should make you smile if it's just consistent. So I understand the ups and downs. Like a lot of people talk about, why would God, if all loving God, allow me to go through this? Well, he saved your son. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He saved you.
Yeah.
You're alive.
I'm alive.
All that really got lost in that situation was a house, a little bit of pride, and because of that, which is a lot. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about in the grand scheme. I don't mean to minimize it.
No.
But on the
You're
grand
fine.
scheme of like who you are becoming, where you are today,
It shaped me.
right?
Yeah.
It's a part of the journey. It's necessary, and I think that too many people push that to the side. Like all I've been through is hell, and they can't find any kind of light to hold on to.
Yes. Yep. I agree with that. It can make you feel like there is no light.
Absolutely.
You know, like you just feel like you're bottom of the barrel and there is
Right.
no light for you. Maybe, I've had thoughts like that in my life where it's like, there is no
Right.
light for me. There is no hope. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. There's
Yeah.
no better days. Yeah, absolutely. I think people definitely get the feeling like that, especially after traumatic events way worse than anything I went through.
Yeah.
You know.
But even that experience is traumatic.
Yeah.
What ultimately happened with your teeth situation?
Yep. So around that time, so when I was younger, I want to say like middle school days,
Yeah.
I really didn't take care of my teeth like I should have, which I think is probably normal for a teenager.
Yeah.
They're not really worried about brushing your teeth every single day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say all teenagers. I'm sure there are some
Yeah.
teenagers out there that do.
Yeah, they're screaming at you.
Yeah. And if you are, that's great. That's great. Keep up
Yeah.
the good work. You
100.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of teenagers, especially the teenagers like me, who rebelled against authority,
Mm-hmm.
who was doing drugs, who was doing drinking, to where maybe that's not so important to you.
It's not the most
at
important
time,
thing. Yeah.
But as I started getting older, I got back into the habit of, taking care of them and stuff like that. And as I started to, they just started to chip. I would be brushing my teeth, and all of a sudden I would hear something hit the porcelain. And I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
And there'd be a piece of my tooth in the sink, and I was like,
Yikes.
are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And then you breathe in and you let that cold air hit the nerve. Oh, boy, you talk about pain.
Yeah. Yeah. Different kind of pain there. That's
the
some
pain
of the
goes
worst
up to
pain.
your brain, down your arm.
Yeah.
Like
That's some of the worst pain ever.
insane.
It is.
Some of the most painful stuff I've ever had to go through.
Yeah.
And so it just didn't stop, man. Like it was, and at the time I didn't, like I was working landscape, but like, I mean, you go work at these landscaping jobs, ain't nobody offering health insurance for these type of jobs.
No.
There's tons of physical labor jobs that people are going to do, and they are not offering health insurance. You know what I'm saying?
No, they're
And,
not.
I have
And
a
health
kid,
insurance on you and your son would be $1,000 a month.
and not only
easy.
that, I'm paying $500 a month in child support.
Facts.
I'm paying for all, life stuff, bills,
Yeah.
utilities, all type of stuff. So I didn't have no money for no health insurance or dental insurance.
Right.
And I sure didn't have no money to do it as a walk-in.
Yeah.
Because that's even more.
That's even more.
You know?
It is.
So I had to just, and my thought was, well, I just need to keep taking care of them and it'll be okay.
Yeah.
But it was just getting worse, man. It was just getting worse and worse. And it was to the point where they were just falling out in the sink, man.
Yeah.
And
Yikes.
that really just, it kind of messes with your mind mentally, man. You're kind of just like, is this real?
Yeah.
You know?
No,
like,
I do.
What? And but what it boiled down to is that it's genetics.
Okay.
My father had
Yeah.
the same problem, and by the time he was
You can't control your genetics, bro.
by the time he was like 40,
Yeah.
he had the same problem I had. You know what I mean? So that kind of took the weight off of my shoulders a little bit because I was hard on myself for not taking care of him when I was a teenager. And so that kind of made me think, well, it wasn't fully my fault because it is genetically, you know, and that's what a dentist told me as well. You know, you've got some bad genetics as far as your dental issues go.
Yeah.
And so, man, the pain just got to the point where I couldn't work.
Yeah.
The pain was so bad, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't think. I couldn't do anything but focus on this pain that felt, I don't know how to describe it other than like, I felt like my head was being crushed by like a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
I felt like I was being crushed, you know? And so it was like, okay, get them out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Get 'em out.
And take into consideration for yourself too. Think about like where you're at right now.
Yeah.
You're introverted.
Yep.
You're working. You feel like you've lost everything.
Yep.
You only get to see your son however much you get to see your son. You feel you're probably not in the best state mentally or
No,
spiritually.
Not at all.
And at this point, it's just like I just don't want to deal with this dude. Just take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
I do want like. I think most people would understand. I mean, that's you're not in the best place, you know.
Yeah.
So
And so that was a decision that I made because I was in so much pain. Like I said, I couldn't even go to work. I was missing work. My employers were getting mad at me because I wasn't coming to work and I was having to go get these emergency. Dude, I was paying, sometimes I would go pay a dentist like a couple $100 just to give me a shot so it would numb everything for a while.
yeah,
You know, but you can only do that so many times.
yeah.
You
No,
know.
that's true.
And so I just made the decision like I can't go forward with life like this.
No.
You know, so they had to go.
Which-
And they were all falling out anyway.
Yeah.
And
You just
so
you rushed the process.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I was like, let's get them out and let's get me some new ones.
Yeah.
So we got them all taken out, which was, whew,
Yeah.
that was something else. That's not a fun procedure, dog.
Yeah. No, I've
It's
had
not.
one tooth taken out and it was a very shaky procedure. I'll say that. I was shaking.
So they took the top out. They were going to do them all at once. And they took the top out, and I guess I started convulsing or something.
Yeah.
So
It's a freaky process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they sent me home. I had to come back the next day. It was this big thing.
Yeah.
But it all got over, and they sent me to, I can't remember the name of the place. It's in Pooler. I can't remember the name. I shouldn't throw shade on them anyway. It's not right.
Yeah, yeah.
But they could not make me teeth
Yeah.
for nothing. Like, they gave me these teeth. When I say I looked like I had horse teeth,
Yeah.
dog, I couldn't even close my lips.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And I was like, I can't walk around like this. I couldn't talk with them in.
No.
I couldn't eat with them.
Yeah.
And every time, I'm telling you, I went back 7 times at least.
Yeah.
For them to try to fix it.
Yeah.
And they would never get it right. And they got to the point where, again, I was taking time off from work
Yeah.
to go to these appointments all the time. And my boss was like, you got to stop taking time off.
I mean, yeah.
And I was like, well, yeah, but I got to get this taken care of. And so it was like,
Man.
you know what? You know, and then, so walking around with none of them in my mouth was a major blow.
Yeah.
You know, because
Absolutely, dude. Yeah.
people, there's preconceived notions, you know?
I'll be honest with you. When I the first time that I had seen you in years
Yeah.
was at that store down the street, and you know it's love. Like,
Absolutely.
and I know you. I
Yeah.
knew that you weren't off the rail like that.
Yeah.
But my initial reaction wasn't taken back. I didn't recognize you.
Yep.
I didn't recognize who I was looking at, and you know me well enough, and y'all know me well enough by now to
Yeah.
know that like I'm not gonna say like, well, I ain't gonna talk to him. I ain't gonna be his friend.
Yep.
But I was taken aback. I was looking at you
Sure.
like, damn,
What happened?
what happened?
Yeah.
But I figured on your own time, and that was our reconnecting right there at that store down the street.
Yeah.
It's not a store no more, it's a vape shop now. But like we reconnected there, and I feel like from that point forward is, you know, our relationship where it is now was being structured and built through that. But
That's right.
but I never judged. There was no preconceived notion, but there was like oh man.
Like what happened?
And just also like a feel for you. I was just like, man.
Yep, and I lost.
I'm sorry, bro. You know.
I lost all care at that point.
Yeah.
Because nobody could get my teeth right. I visited several different dentists. None of them were able to get them to fit the way they needed to fit.
I can only imagine, like, with dreams and aspirations and what that can do.
It completely killed everything I ever wanted to do. It killed any chance of having another relationship with a woman. Mm-hmm. It killed even friends. Even on my own, some of my own friends were like, nope.
Man.
You know?
Yeah.
And so it made me go that introverted cave that I had already been digging myself from other situations in life. I just dove in it even harder.
I can't understand the friend part. I really can't.
It's and it's not that, as far as the friends go, none of them were ever mean to my face. It was stuff I heard after the fact.
Yeah.
Like my real friends that never left my side.
Yeah.
Would come back and be like, hey man, no.
That ain't your homie.
I know you think that's your friend and all, but they just said some foul stuff about you because of that.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
yeah. Whereas,
wow.
like, as your friend, I felt like even from that moment, I'm a caretaker. I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And to an extent, like, I'm not, like, over exaggerative about it. But, like, if I care about you, if I love you, I'm going to figure out a way to help you out of a hole. You know what I mean? And that's just who I am as a person. So there's always been, just with me, like, I don't even care about what happened. I don't need to know about what happened. That's why I never really asked you about what happened. I'll let you tell me on your own terms.
And that's
I just decided
I knew you were a real friend.
And I just decided, hey, he's probably in a dark place. Yeah. Let me see if I can help shine some light to him.
That's right.
Because I was, in my mind, I didn't even know if you I didn't know if you had anybody. You know what I mean? Other than your mom, of course, and your family. But like I'm looking at the situation like, is anybody in his corner? Yep. And I came to you in that way because I felt called to it almost. Like, I need to start texting him more. I need to make sure that he's up. I need to make sure that he's doing well. Yeah. And I was pleasantly surprised that our pen palmanship, if you will.
That's right.
It was like we had never missed a beat, and it made it a lot easier. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But good, you can continue, man. I'm sorry. I just wanted to.
No,
I think that it's important to set this up too, so that people understand. Like, if you're going through it, if they're going through it, there's nothing in this world that you can't overcome. Yeah. And you're a shining example of that.
Yeah.
You are.
Absolutely. But yeah. So going forward.
And do you have the business now at this point?
So I didn't have the business at first. I was working for a different company at the time.
Okay.
And I kind of just spinning my wheels there, and I was like, yo, I need to do my own thing.
Yeah.
You know, and create my own. And so that's what I did, man. Me and my mom, we started the business. Carpet cleaning.
Super cool.
And she did all the accounting and taxes, and I kind of handled everything else.
Yeah.
You know,
super cool.
and working and chemicals and all that stuff.
And keep in mind too that at this point in time, this is a certain way that you can work, make money.
Yeah.
And actually be a businessman, actually own your own.
That's right.
And you don't have to speak to the public or talk to people, so you can still comfortably be yourself.
That's right.
You know, and I think that bro, I really think that was a blessing, because I think that you needed that. I think you needed everything that you've been going through in order to get to where you are now. But
that's right.
Yeah.
And it so we started the business. I still didn't have teeth. I walked around with no teeth for 5 years.
Yeah.
Literally 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I lost track of time, to be honest with you. And during that whole time, man, I'm just working. And when I get off work, I go home and I get high. And I go home and I get high. And that was kind of the vicious cycle I was in.
And for those out there that don't know, if you lose your teeth, if you get your teeth taken out and you wait too long, my wife is in dentistry. She says, I mean, if you wait like longer than a year or 2 years, your chances of getting teeth are slim to none because your jaw starts closing shut or something like that. Shrinks.
Yeah.
And so during this time, you probably feel like you're never going to get teeth.
Absolutely.
Right?
I felt like, at that point in time, I felt like there was no hope for me.
Yeah.
I felt like I was never going to get a second chance at normal life.
Yeah.
I felt like I was never going to have a social life. Nobody would ever want to be my real friend. Nobody would ever want to be anywhere near me. And so I just quit caring.
What an awful...
I quit caring about myself. I quit caring about my appearance. I think my beard was like out to here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just quit caring.
What an awful mentality, man.
Anything.
Yeah.
Understandable
mentality, but an awful mentality,
I even had... anytime I was ever around law enforcement,
yeah,
they always thought I had meth on me.
Yeah.
So anytime I ever had any interaction with them, it was checking your pockets, checking your car. Now,
crazy,
of course,
bro.
I never had anything.
Crazy.
So I never went to jail because I don't do meth.
Yeah.
But, just that made it even worse.
And the only relatability I have to that would be when I got clean, I did 5 years. No friends. No, and I did that because for whatever reason in my head, I told myself in the beginning, I need to do 5 years without hanging out with nobody but my wife and my kids. And once that 5-year period ended, I kept going a little bit longer. I think it wasn't until COVID where I was like, I'm going nuts and I need to hang out with somebody. But that 5-year period was destructive, even though I had my wife with me.
Sure.
And she was my best friend. It was still a destructive era of my life because you could be the best person on earth.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't trust you to save my life. And I did that as it was like what do you call it? Like a defense mechanism where I'm like, you stay away from me. Like, I will talk to you in this shop. I will give you some, but ultimately, I just felt like,
that's right.
What's the point?
Yeah.
My best friends, bro, the people that I would have died bloody for.
Yeah.
I mean, telling you, I would have died bloody for these people. Haven't even, one of them spoke to me like twice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Since I've been clean.
Yeah,
And these are
that's
people
right.
I would have died for. I would have felt stupid dying for them, bro.
Yep. And, I mean, and that's how it is, man. I just got in that hole. And I just felt like there was no second chance for me. And but then all of a sudden, man, I don't know what it was. My mom was like, hey, you really need to check out this dentist office downtown. I'll shout them out. Beyond Exceptional Dentistry. They're great. And
Shout
I
out
went
to
in
y'all.
there, and for the first time in any dentist office in my life, and really for the first time in 5 years, I felt like people genuinely cared.
Yeah.
About me.
Yeah.
About, like, personally.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I walked in, they genuinely cared and wanted to help me.
Yeah.
And they did, man.
Yeah.
And I was able to get it.
It seemed like it happened quick, too.
It did. It happened quick. They got me in there. They let me know the deal. Everything was fine. They did the surgery. And here I am.
Man, you really are like, and they look great. You really are such an inspiration, man, even to me. Like, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm normally people's source of inspiration in situations like this. You inspire me. And that's, I'm telling you, bro, like to go through that process and just to keep walking and keep taking steps and keep, you might not have been focused on walking towards light, but God found you. God lit it for you.
And I kind of rekindled with God around that same time, because I ain't been rekindled with, the whole decade I wasn't with God.
I mean, you can't chalk this up to anything less than a blessing. And you know the blessings have to come from somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah, dude.
And
it's
once
amazing.
I kind of rekindled my relationship with God, it's funny how that works, because I rekindled that relationship, and me and you were even talking about it. Mm-hmm. And then, boom, I got teeth.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look, I'm not saying it always works like that, because it don't. But
no, obviously. I mean, with your whole story, it obviously doesn't always work like that. But
it finally did, and it just...
But when you do start living right,
I just never thought I'd have that second chance.
Yeah.
You know, and God gave me that.
Yeah.
You know, God put these people in my life to be able to do this.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. You know.
Don't waste it.
And absolutely.
Don't waste it.
So back to the company. So, you know, we're running the company and everything's fine. But I've always had knee issues. I remember having knee pain when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, and your parents
Which
are like,
is crazy.
oh, it's growing pains.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, when I was like 21, I went to an orthopedic doctor, and he said I had the knees of like a 70-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like 20.
Yeah. Yeah,
At
that is
time.
nuts.
I'm 35 now, you know.
Yeah. So now you're like literally 100 in the knees.
That's what I joke around to my new orthopedic doctor.
Hey.
You know, but I had to do some work in my attic recently. And there's been some squirrels and birds up in there. I've had to get them out. And you know how attics are. Everybody knows how attics are.
Yeah.
It's not fun to be in an attic.
No, it's
especially
not.
if you've got to lay down or do anything like that. That hurt me.
Yeah.
I was walking around with a cane for a few days.
Yeah.
I had to use a cane.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm going to try not to get emotional, but this is rough. So went to the doctor. Doctor said, you know, so my kneecaps move around freely.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go, you know, like they're supposed to. So that doesn't help either. Got some scar tissue in there. So he gave me some shots. I've been getting corticoid shots to help me get through, you know, this period of my life. But I can't do the business no more. I just can't. I'm gonna, you know, from the words of them is I'm gonna cause permanent damage.
Yeah.
You know, he said he could do surgery on me if I wanted to, but that's gonna put me out for a year.
Yeah.
I can't not work for a year.
Yeah.
I gotta have income, man. I got a kid. He wants stuff. He's with me full time now.
Yeah.
You know, I raise him by myself. You know, I got my family's help, of course, thank God.
Yeah.
But you know, he's with me full time.
Yeah.
And so I can't just not work.
And
know,
now you're faced with a new trial.
I don't get child support.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So everything's on me.
Yeah.
So I can't just sit out for a year.
I do think you should. I think you should
know.
get child support if you're forced to pay child support. Whatever though.
Yeah.
Another story. Another
that's
time.
right. That's right. So, you know, I just had to make the decision. Like, okay, you know, once he said, you know, you're gonna cause permanent damage, it was just like. I've done physical work my whole entire life since I was like 14 years old.
Yeah.
It's been like 21 years of nothing but physical work. I don't know anything else.
Yeah.
You know, what do you mean I have to stop?
Right.
What are you talking about? So it took me a few days, and then finally the pain while I'm working is too bad. It hurts too bad. You know, I'm on the floor constantly, or I'm going up 17 flights of stairs each day, to, you know, combined. And I can't handle it. I don't want to be, I'm 35. I don't want to be 45 years old and can't do anything for my kid.
Right.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, I have to be there for him.
Yeah.
So as much as it pains me to stop the business because it's something that I love, I can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, so it is what it is. I'm coming to terms with it. You know, I'm at a place now where it's like, okay, it's out of my hands.
And it is selfless.
You know?
It's selfless of you. It's not selfish. And
Yeah.
I will tell you that, bro, it's just another trial, man.
It is,
It's
man.
another one. You just told me about 19 different trials that you've had to face,
Yeah.
and you've made it through them. And
Yeah.
God has blessed you at the end of each and every one of them in some
Yeah.
way, shape, or form. I mean, even if we wanted to get into it, which we don't have to, or we probably shouldn't because we're
Yeah,
creeping up on
and
an
I
hour.
apologize
but
for it
no,
being this
don't
long, you know
apologize.
what
It
I'm
was
saying?
it was a great conversation.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to even get into the point, maybe on another one,
Sure.
about the fight to get your child to be in the
absolutely.
situation that you're in now. Like all of this, I'm watching it happen, watching it unfold, texting with you back and forth, voice notes
Yeah.
back and forth. And man, I do want to tell you, I'm proud of you, man. Don't lose the sight of the opportunities that God blesses you with.
Oh, yeah.
Stick to them.
Absolutely.
And I do think that at the end of this, it might seem like this is your last. It might seem like this is all you got left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is this
Yeah.
business, and you're having to give that up.
Yeah.
But there is something at the other end of that as long as you keep your faith
And
strong.
that's kind of where I've reminded myself is this is the first trial, if you know, if you want to call it that I'm going through it sober.
Okay.
I'm going through it positive as I can be.
Yep.
And I'm giving it to God.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to handle it on my own. I'm not spiraling into
Good.
some crazy,
Good.
corner. And having teeth helps with that too.
Yeah.
That I feel like I can
Yes.
depend on people and talk to people more often and not have to hide and all that type of stuff. So it's making God is making it easier on me.
And not to sound repetitive, man, but like I even feel like in a way, like all that stuff leading up to this was to prepare you for this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have been able to do that, bro. If you didn't fight through the hell that you fought through to get to where you are, you wouldn't be able to go through this with feeling positive about it, trying to trust God with everything with it. And there's something to be said about that. I tip my hat to you in that way because that's very hard. I mean, I talk to people for a living. Like all I do is talk to people. I talk to so many people. I have relationships with so many people, and all these different people are hopeless. They're bent out of shape over much less.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And I've watched you fight through, and that's the part that inspires me because there's there's not many, bro. There's not many out here that hand over foot will fight through what they need to fight through to get to a better place. Yeah. And I think that that there's a better place out there, and I just salute you for trying to get there. That's my life story. My life story is me just trying to find that better place. Whatever it takes, it doesn't matter and I don't think that we do it for us. I think that we do it for you. I think you do it for your son. For me, I think I do it for my wife and my girls. And it's because I've been through so much turmoil. I don't care what happens to me. I can fight it.
Yes.
I don't care if I'm broke. I don't care if I'm homeless. I don't care if I'm in jail. I don't want any of that to happen to me. No. But I know that I can handle it. Yeah. And I know that I can push through it. And I'll be okay as long as they're okay. Yep. So I'm just grateful to have the opportunity that I've been laid with today to be in a situation where I can comfortably say that my kids, hopefully, won't have to have the same type of life I had to have.
Right there. You nailed it on the head, man. If I had to go through all of the stuff that I've been through in my life so far, and I'm sure I'm only 35, there's more to come.
Mm-hmm. Much more.
And God willing. But my thought process is like that. Like, if I have to go through all this stuff just so my son can make those better decisions and not have to go through any of this, then that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. And, we were talking about being in a better place, even though we're closing the business and everything like that, and it's kind of a downer and stuff like that. I do feel like I'm strangely in a better place because at the end of the day, I'm gonna get another job. It's gonna be fine. Yeah, I've got my son full time. I get to take him to school. I get to pick him up from school. I get to cook him dinner. Like,
spiritually, you're in a better place.
And spiritually I'm talking to God a lot more. I can't complain, man. Yeah. I really can't.
I love that.
As much as there's stuff that's emotional and it's kind of a downer, at the end of the day, when I sit back and think, it's like, no, it's okay, man. I'm not in a bad spot anymore, man. Look at me, man. That's fire. I'm not. I did have a second chance, Yeah. And I'm not going to blow it. Yeah. Fire. This is my come up. Yeah. Finally. Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of you, man.
Absolutely,
and I'm looking forward to it. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we wrap out?
Man, just thank yous, man. Thank you to anybody that ever supported my business. I can't thank you enough, man. From apartment complexes to leasing agents to property managers to regular residential clients. Man, just thank you because you were helping my dream come true. And I can't ever thank y'all enough for that. And to everybody that's on my Facebook that followed me through my journey with getting my kid full-time, full custody, followed me through my journey with the house, burning down back in the day. Just thank you. That's all. Yeah. I'm just, right now in my life, I'm full of thanks. Yeah. And I might get choked up and I might get teary-eyed, but it's good. Yeah. It's joy. Yeah. It's not pain. Yeah. It's joy, man. Yeah. I've had people give me compliments and personal compliments that I haven't gotten years. Yeah. It's amazing.
That's wonderful.
You know, so I just
it makes my heart scream happiness for you, man.
Yeah,
it does.
Man, I just want to give thanks, man, to
and you deserve it.
Yeah.
I don't use that word lightly, bro.
No,
I don't even say that word, but you
that.
do. You do.
Yeah.
You deserve it.
And
you deserve it.
You know, I just thank any and everybody that ever supported, like I said, the business, anybody that stuck with me, like you as a personal friend through my trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
To my family, my mom, my stepdad, anybody that ever just stuck by my side, thank you, because I'm likely still here because of y'all. You know? So just thank you. And anybody that's ever believed in me, I'm about to make all y'all proud.
Yeah.
You just watch.
Yeah. You've already made me proud.
Because great things is only coming from here, I promise.
You've already made me proud.
That's right. I appreciate you letting me do
I love
this,
you, man.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for watching, man. Y'all go like and subscribe on his channel, man, so you can get more of this. And just thank you. I feel the same way about you guys, man. Thank y'all. I'll see y'all on the next one, all right?
Peace.